Tuesday morning, you're with us here on a fresh new edition of Bazaar Morning Call. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Sonia and Nigel. Guys, good morning.
Morning.
Starting another day quiet, right? Not very much in terms of cues to take off globally. So US equity sold off in the last hour of trade, and you had the Nasdaq, which ended about 1.25% lower. Not very much, but the continuation on the upside was kind of broken. One positive thing, which I think is significant, is oil prices. They got very close to $99-100 very recently. A week ago, they're back at about 92, 93. So despite all of the talk of China reopening, etc., prices fell, which is good news. SGX Nifty, it's moved up in the last 30 minutes or so. It was more or less flat. Now you got about a 65 point start higher, which is about 1/3% in the green. Yesterday, we saw some consolidation. Will we see more of it? That is the question. Guys, good morning.
Hi, morning Prashant, morning Nigel. Morning. And there's that song, right? Nothing can stop it. I'm all the way up, right? I feel that way when I look at the markets. I mean, it's been all the way up, and it's what, 1% away now from the all-time highs. So a little bit of consolidation, a little bit of pause is something that we're seeing in the last few days. But the Dow was up about 200 points overnight. Down 200 points overnight. So this is the first decline that we've seen in the last 3 days. So maybe a little more of a pause is what our own markets could see. The flows is really the big positive for us. I mean, in November so far, it's been almost 14,000 crores that has been pumped in by foreign investors, and almost 1,100 crores in trade yesterday. DIs as well, just a smidge, about 50 odd crores, but buying both from FIIs and DIs, so the money is coming in thick and fast. Also, the macro data is improving from an Indian standpoint. Inflation has eased. CPI eased to a 3-month low of 6.77%. And, we had positive commentary from the RBI as well. So give and take everything, the macros, the micros are all looking good. I guess it's just buying time today. The SGX Nifty, of course, is indicating that we could put on some more weight, but just a matter of time before we get to new highs.
Some indication, right, Sonia, last couple of days that maybe things are slowing down a little bit, especially broader markets. Mid-caps, small caps are not participating that much. And I think the breadth of the market has also suffered. So I think maybe, all of that telling you that, and earnings are, by the way, behind us. And we'll talk more about that in just a bit. So global cues are lackluster. You've got in the last hour, for no particular reason, by the way, the US markets came off. No real new slow trigger, but I mean, the market ended down about 1.25%. The S&P was down a little less. Commentary coming in from Fed officials. So this is Fed's Brainerd, who's the vice chairman of the Federal Reserve, saying, and I quote, "Probably it'll be appropriate soon to move to a slower pace of increase." That is good news. It's dovish, right? But then, just on Sunday, you had comments from Fed's Waller, who's the Fed governor, who said that FOMC, and I quote, "still got a ways to go." There are 13 more speakers lined up. After what we heard last night and on Sunday, there are 13 more to go this week. I think we had a guest, I don't remember who said the FOMC could also be called the Federal Open Mouth Committee, So many people constantly talking, but the fact is that this is the most important aspect for the market, which is crucial. What is the terminal rate? How high? For how long? So it doesn't matter how many people speak. Not all are equally important, but the senior-most members, markets will pay attention to. Inflation here has also fallen, and I think that is important. The numbers came through yesterday. We had the hint from the RBI governor himself, and we played sound bites this time yesterday. So the headline inflation number is coming at about 6.8% compared to 7.4%. These are year-on-year increases that we're talking about. But, if you exclude vegetable inflation, if you look at food inflation, ex-vegetable, it is in line. If you look at core inflation, ex-food and fuel, that is also in line. So in the headline, there is some relief, but on an overall basis, I mean, you could still nitpick. But in any case, what matters is, for policy, what matters is headline inflation coming off into the RBI band of between 2 and 6%. So that is one thing. I already mentioned oil, which has fallen, right? Oil is no longer at 99, which it was last week. Last Monday, we were at 99, knocking at 100. We're at 92. In terms of strategy here, I would say don't be in a hurry to pile on and look at lower levels to buy. Maybe the market comes back into that congestion zone we've been talking about in the Nifty, which is 18,100, 18,250 or so. If you get prices around those levels, perhaps look to buy. On the upside, I mean, I think the Jan 22 high on the Nifty, which is 18,350, which is where the market exactly left off day before yesterday, and we kind of close slightly under it, I think that will be an indication that maybe there is more to come. SGX is indicating we'll start above it, but should you chase it, I would say no. Wait it out, give it some time with the way the market's been behaving over the last couple of days. Nigel, what are you watching?
Well, some near-term consolidation will not hurt anyone, right? After the kind of run that we have seen, the US markets did come off, today. And in fact, if you're looking at big earnings, you got a big day of earnings out there because of commentary. Walmart and Home Depot, both of them will come out with a set of numbers in the next few days. In the US markets, you'll get plenty of retailers as well that will be reporting their numbers. So that's going to be one factor, not just the results, but the commentary as well will be tracked. In terms of our own markets, the cash market, the flows continue. The net institutional buy number of around 1,100 crores, that's positive. Now, the live indicator you have is the Nifty futures premium. That came down to around 50 from around 70. Well, you were wondering whether or not there were short positions that were created. That wasn't the case. The Nifty open interest did see some unwinding. The Nifty bank open interest as well did see some unwinding. So there was unwinding of long positions, what we saw. And that perfectly ties in with what the FIs did in the F&O market. They unwound close to around 5,000 long contracts and they added some mild shorts. Net-net, they continue to remain net long on the index. However, on the option side, they bought some calls. What's telling you that maybe that 18,500, 18,550 will be a near-term resistance is yesterday the FIs wrote 60,000 call contracts. That's a large number in terms of call writing. And the options data as well, if you plug it in, it's fitting in perfectly. 18,400, 18,450 calls, both of them very active yesterday, 50 lakh shares getting added there. The sense you get is there's writing at those levels. On the downside, the 18,000 put, it has the highest open interest, on the put side. It has close to around 75 lakh shares odd. So you're expecting that level to hold out. The broad range you have is 18,000 on the downside, maybe 18,050, 18,100 odd. And on the upside, I think there'll be a bigger fight from the bears to save this 18,550 odd mark going by the options data. Just in the near term, we're headed to all-time highs, but maybe some bit of consolidation in the near term. SGX Nifty suggesting we're going to get closer to that mark. Sonia, what else?
Okay, closer to the peak, right? Yeah. Edging closer and closer. I was just reading a report that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has revealed in the last quarter that it's built a $4 billion stake in Taiwan Semiconductor. So,
TSMC,
Yes, TSMC. And we were talking about this, right, as to how the worst of the semiconductor shortage perhaps is behind, and now he's taken a bet well in advance in the last quarter itself.
Actually, he's one of the big global investors. Actually, he's not much of a global investor. He says, well, I want to bet on American companies. But if you remember the battery maker, BYD, I think there was Charlie Munger who took I don't know if it was Berkshire or in personal capacity, but that was a large position.
Yes.
He's bought oil companies around the world. Yeah. Apple, of course,
he holds for a long time.
And now, of course, as you said, Taiwan Semiconductor as well. The other thing is this news flow around layoffs, right, that we're hearing. Amazon 10,000. We've heard from Meta. Twitter, of course, is a fiasco unfolding.
Yeah.
Microsoft, and I think so many other companies starting to. So we watched this labor market data, right? With the monthly unemployment number, NFP number. So all of this adds up, right, slowly.
Absolutely. And there are going to be so many people without jobs. That's going to have an impact on growth as well, right? On consumption patterns too.
I was just wondering, this labor market data that we get is looking very strong. What data are they looking at? Yeah?
I think, Nigel, all of this, that number is what? 300,000, 400,000. These are still, these are large layoffs, but 5,000, 7,000, 10,000. But I think it adds up, right? Eventually it adds up. And the way the labor market data is counted is, they ask you whether you are employed or you're looking for a job. You don't raise your hand, you don't get counted. So it's the way the data is also counted, which I think makes a difference.
Okay, well, lots happening in the market, so we're going to discuss that in the next 2.5 hours. First up, we have a comment coming in from Gautam Dugard of Motilal Oswal, who says that the results season has been largely in line with no earnings cut despite all